When I was in London last, my sister said, is it like when you see movies where a huge decision needs your life to change? Sloane here. I decided to become a wedding planner well into my 40s after deciding that corporate wasn't for me. It was a difficult decision, but I did know that it had to be something enriching and fun for me. I walked away from my accounting job to just be a receptionist at this small wedding planning company. This all started off great. So, I was a high-performing and happy worker. It actually took me 2 days of working with Dorian to realize he was something other than a friend. I considered myself a pretty good guy. Why did he seem to despise me so much? I was polite and courteous. I really did. But that was it, and he had description about him of latitudes so remote. Yet, it harassed me relentlessly for my job, and I retreated to the only peace that was at home with family. Thankfully, they were rather understanding of my career shift. Our dad had cancer and spent much time in the hospital. Yet he would remind me constantly how proud of my fight for his dream. My family was in pain, but they were there for me and never stopped my motivation. A few years went by. A recent graduate named Elara was added to the team. It was simple for her to be friends with Dorian. I was happy to have a new coworker though, but I did feel odd about her in general. I know her cheerful persona and never-ending streams of conversation may have agitated me a good deal. After a while, I started to see a difference with Dorian being or coming from Elara. He would praise her work and hand over something else, while I was all but invisible. That was infuriating to think that somebody has just barely started and already she receives accolade after accolades when for months I have been grinding away. Nobody even noticed. But still, till this late, I never surrender. I had the potential to become a good wedding planner, and I would not let anyone erase that belief. A hard-working girl with her abilities to bloom and still flourishing. And it was 3 months later. I had just started the new job too, and then my dad calls to tell me that one day he woke up in hospital. I knew it was coming, but the news hit me like a ton of bricks. My family and I were all in a bad way, so we took some time to come together as well. And yet I would have to tell Dorian, and he was not going to like this. I sprinted to his office and exclaimed that nothing works. I could tell that Dorian was none too pleased to hear my sudden declaration that I needed a few days' leave when it was only 48 hours away. But what could he do? Someone's father had died. I just seethed with anger and hated that he could not relate. I kept my composure and asked myself what emotion was driving me. I had a few days unpaid leave from work and went with my family to her funeral. A sad and emotional day, though grateful for my family with me. And shit, a few days later, most of my stuff had been taken while I was working. Elara, where are my things? To which she responded with I had been fired. The only thing was that I was completely confused and heartbroken. I was aggravated. What? No headgear to crank back the speed or give a reason? I stormed into Dorian's office. My anger and confusion was off the charts. Sir, could we please talk? Elara says I am fired. Yes, Sloane, you have. With all the things you need to bring, we have packed ready for a person like you, so that they can leave today. What I thought I had heard was too much unbelievable. Then fired me as soon as I took a day off, steaming with rage and ready for a fight. I'm sorry, what? The day my father died, you fired me? Unbelievable. Sloane, I am sorry, but we are going to have to do what's best for the business. What are you talking about? I hit all my targets as far back I can remember for this company. You can tell that you have been procrastinating recently. That's not true. There is evidence that I have done the job. If you have ever done work on the platforms, they save your every progress. I never once missed a deadline, nor did I ever fail to deliver on tasks equals. Where do you think he kept any records of that stuff, Sloane? In my work laptop. I have it right here. So I wiped it out. Are you for real right now? Would you please pack your bags and brawl no more? So you were trying to kill me, is that correct? So what if I was? Not that you could do anything about it. Why is HR actually listening to this phone call I am on? What? You think I'm stupid enough to come into this place without a record setting? I grabbed a voice recorder from my pocket and presented it to him. Even I was not fooled and realized that something really horribly wrong could only be Dorian with so much in advance ready for I heard him panic and ease the tone as quickly as humanly possible. Sloan, great job. You all of us knew nothing. This was a test. What? We just wanted to check in on this because of what went down with your family. We were a little worried about the impact it might have had on the work you are doing. That's fucking dumb. Of course it does. All right, I will give you a promotion opportunity. 2 glad meanings of promotion. I knew this was just a cop-out, but I accepted Dorian's excuse. I thought this promotion was the perfect thing, the silver bullet that would help me fast-track my career. I would probably find another job and run as soon as I achieved the lowest rank in Dorian. I walked that conversation off again. Just back to work, breathing easier, a bit more into myself again. However, after a few days I felt there was some error. Work was isolating me, and I didn't know why. I could feel myself becoming an outsider, and it was beginning to show in my work. One lunch break, Elara was talking to some of my co-workers about me. You bitches realized Sloan was only blackmailing our boss, right? I heard her talking to him the other day. I'm going to expose all contacts of this company if he is not going to promote me, she said. When she saw me coming, she very quickly shushed her talking. She did not know that I heard the whole thing from behind a curtain. She smiled at me with her usual innocent smile, as if she was so fond of me. Well, I smiled back politely, finally realizing why they had all shunned me. No matter how I tried to explain everything, it was as good as done. Elara, I watched as my coworkers all backed further away from me. They apparently had a lot of trust in Elara. No one was enthusiastic about my project ideas, and they would always take Elara's side. Now I had to, but my promotion was no good to me because nobody would let me lead them in any project. I was really bummed, but no turning back now. I tried even harder and hoped that maybe one day I would be able to win my coworkers over with such fresh ideas. I even worked an hour early to make sure I was always ahead of the game and ready for work. Except I found out a dark secret. I walked into the office that day to find Elara coming out of Dorian's office looking really rough, her hair and clothes crumpled. That explained everything. All of a sudden, Elara had only put up with Dorian because she was fucking him. He was probably trying to fire me to promote her in the first place. Their behaviors were so disgusting to me. Elara was even engaged to another man, and she always talked about how much she wanted a big fancy wedding in the fall. So many thoughts were passing through my head at that moment that I almost forgot to hide behind the wall. Luckily, Elara was so arrogant that she wasn't even trying to be careful. She walked straight to the bathroom, unaware that I might have just discovered her biggest secret. Days after that, Elara approached me again with such a fake smile. Hey Sloan, do you have some time? I want to ask you for a favor. How can I help you? Oh, you know how Kale and I are engaged, right? I talked to you about him, my high school sweetheart. Yep, I remember. Right, so we were hoping that you could help us plan our wedding. Oh, you want me to plan it? Why so? Well, I sort of noticed how you haven't had any good ideas lately, and Dorian isn't happy with your progress. I thought you could use some help. You want to help me? Yeah, we could help each other. You could do my wedding for free, and I could put in a good word for you. You know, Dorian is quite happy with my work. He might even give me a promotion. I knew that calculated girl was just trying to make me plan her wedding for free. I was really mad at her and her audacity to talk like she's been working hard, while all she did was take advantage of immoral tricks. Almost immediately, I knew what to do about the situation. I had to correct the record. I decided to assist Elara with her wedding planning so she could carry on, secretly plotting. One thing was for certain, I came to the realization that Dorian and Elara saw each other every morning an hour or so before business hours. She soon agreed to plan her wedding, and I had Kale, her poor fiancé. I even confessed to Elara how dearly was her happiness important for me that I would put in a night shift just on the day before, just so everything went perfectly. Elara was more than happy. Oh, she loved it when a few people just did what they were told. The next, she handed over the spare keys for every room in her company. And of course, she was Dorian's mistress, so had the key to Dorian's office. What she didn't know was that perhaps, in the process, she gave me a key to unlocking her darkest of secrets. The next time I planned a shift to meet Kale at work, when Dorian and Elara would be there. I made sure to make this a little secret for the bride that was my surprise too. I had known what I wanted to happen when Kale and I arrived at the company that day. And true enough, we could hear Elara laughing along with Dorian. Kale looked at her skeptically, but remained silent. I reached serenely into my bag and extracted the key to Dorian's office. The moment that door had opened, everything came onto light. Kale was too stunned to even reply. With that, he took off and left the office. Elara freaked out, scrambled for her clothes, and chased after calling his name frantic. Her eyes welled up with tears, but I did not pity her. But damn did I feel sorry for Kale. But he had a right to the truth about his own partner. Beside him, Dorian was attempting to pull his trousers back up and making a futile effort at talking me round. Sloane, please don't say anything about this. You know what, Dorian? This company is doing terrible because of you. You have this fried, my life is so full doing all this nonsense. Oh, come now, I will raise your salary. Yeah, a promotion today. What do you say? No, Dorian, I have worked for it, but only because to succeed in one's own soul is a form of success. I'll bring this to HR. As soon as telling me to change my mind didn't work with Dorian, he showed his true colors. Really? Well, do you have any proof? Not one bad thing Elara could ever possibly say of me. They all hate you. Literally. Nobody will listen. Got you, Dorian. You're so naive. Don't you remember last time? Dorian had not answered me by the time I left with a grumble, away from my judgmental Respel mentor. Like before, I had the voice recorder in my pocket as an immature way of telling myself that when it came to dealing with a man like Dorian, I needed evidence actually. I then forwarded HR the recordings of Dorian saying to me, he was gone as soon as they found out he seduced me outside of my job and even hired one office girl to sleep with. He only made choices brought loose to the company, satisfying his personal whims. Mayor, meanwhile, quit her job not long after, and Elara left hers soon thereafter in humiliation. My coworkers got to know about it soon. All of them then came and apologized for their behavior with me twice. I never blamed them, but also made a counter to let him know that my ideals are something serious and at the office he should show some professionalism. Shortly after that, people started to pay attention when I said something and wanted me on their projects. I eventually got the promotion I deserved. Otherwise, I would not be in my happy place, doing all of the gorgeous couples ceremonies that are booked with me throughout 2019 who legate or marry next year. That makes me so proud of myself, and I know that my dad will be very happy with what I have done.